Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Short Attention Span webinar. Kelly, how are you since the last time we met?
I'm doing so great. Thank you so much for asking.
Well, good. You know, you look so much better because before you didn't look that good before. But anyway, the air is thin. So let's see. Oh yeah, so we're talking about sales meeting fodder and topics. And so far we have talked about, let's see, how do we justify the price difference? How do we justify a price increase? This week, Kelly, we talk about the screw up. All right. So we just screwed up a key job. And now we have the information. They don't know about it yet.
Yeah.
So that's the topic. I'll give you a chance to stop the video. And then you can, well, I have a remote control over here, but it might turn on my air conditioner. Stop the video. Okay. I'm assuming you're back. I'll put my remote control away. All right. So again, the situation is that we have bad news to deliver. We just screwed a job up. All right.
Yeah.
And you can play it that the clients called you up and said, oh, there's a problem. Anyway, the point is, it's major damage has been done. Kelly, what do we do?
The very first thing, the most important thing, is that you address it right away. Okay. Do not let any time go by. It's like the thing that's hanging over your head that you don't want to do, and you know you have to do it. But it's important that it comes from you. Do not try to pass this off on your CSR or someone else. You do it yourself, please. And one of the reasons for that is that I think that clients tend to deal with you a little bit more kindly and nicer than they do to their CSRs. I can't tell you how many times I've had a CSR say, so-and-so just called me and just reamed me a new, like just totally beat them up. Yeah. And then when you pick up the phone and call, it's like they've already, they're already over it. However, that being said, I would want to have all my ducks in a row about what I'm going to do about it and how it's going to be solved before I pick up the phone to make that call too.
So this is information like last week that you want to do in person. You deliver good news over the phone, bad news in person. Okay. Another key point here: don't forget to apologize.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about there's a problem. Let me explain. The paper was late and it came in wrong, and the pressman we had different pressmen, and it's like, stop, apologize.
Yes,
apologize, and then apologize again, and then apologize in writing, and maybe you have to get your boss involved. And you know what? We really screwed this one up. We dropped the ball. Keep in mind, this is a tremendously important opportunity. Everybody screws up.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. You've got the opportunity to do something special here. You've got the opportunity to show what kind of a company you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told you this before, Kelly, that the reason that my daughter Katie works at Apple is that we had a problem with a computer, and the way they dealt with it blew her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's the company that I want to work for.
Cool.
And it was shortly after that she did. She started working there. But I was like, I think 6 months later. But she never forgot that. She still talks about it. Right? So this is an opportunity for you to really do something extraordinary. You also want to,
I was just going to say, I think the really important thing is that understand that there's a continuum here of severity from, oh my gosh, the house is on fire, to, it's not that big of a deal. So you need to understand right after your apology and your ability to solve the problem is, what is the impact of this error, and and so is it something that if I just can get 2 more days to redo it, it actually doesn't, it's not even like it happened at all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or is it someone's got to get on a plane in 6 hours with these, with these redone materials. So I just wanted to point out too that it's not always, a red alert emergency. Sometimes, but to ask the question about the impact so that you understand it and don't make assumptions about what the situation is.
Sorry, a couple other things here. One is that I think it's a good idea to get information on a reprint prior to that meeting. All right? If they call you, however, and say, there's a problem, one of your questions needs to be, what do you need? So before I go out back and start, taking heads off and figure out what happened and asking for reprints, what do you need? Now, they might say, we need the job right away. Okay, how many do you need right away?
Right.
You probably don't need the whole 50,000. Can you do it with 500? And where do you need them?
Right.
You know, well, I need them in Seattle. Okay.
Right.
So then when you call back, you say, all right, the reprint's underway. The job's been printed. The replacement job's been shipped, has been printed at our sister facility or someplace else in Seattle. And we're going to have this hand delivered. It'll be there by the time your guy lands.
Right.
So have that solution. And hopefully it'll be a wow solution. You know, like, you know, just take the wind right out of their sails.
Right.
I had it happen once where I screwed a job up, and by the time the client called me, I knew about it before the client did. By the time the client called me, I had reprinted and reshipped it, and it was already at his dock. So he called to scream at me, and I was letting him go. And finally I said, hey, Joe, go back to receiving. The replacement's already there.
Right.
He was so mad, he hung up.
I hate to say it, but sometimes they're like the most exciting times in our career.
Yeah.
Are the times when you really have to like put out a fire, and it kind of shows you what you're made of. You're a problem solver. You're creative. You're responsive. Again, as you said, this is a chance for you to showcase all the best things about you.
Right. Right.
You know, so.
Okay. Well, there's 3. Next week, we'll wrap up this series of 4 with a different subject for your next sales meeting. Kelly, thank you very much.
Thanks, so.
And we'll talk to you all next week in another short attention span webinar.